I have a prayer for you that you find a good thing. And may that good thing be within yourself so that you can believe in yourself and know that anything is possible. Put one foot in front of the other. I ask for a prayer over you, a covering over you, so that you will do away with fear and realize that your dreams don't work unless you do. Understand that you can't fail if you don't quit. And if you fall down 7 times, get up 8. Recognize the power that's inside of you. You have the power to change your life. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. Well, I want to hope that you stop sleeping on yourself. Stop counting yourself out. Versus saying it's impossible, realize that I'm possible. Listen, prayer changes things. And prayer and change, it starts with you. All right. Y'all know what time it is. It's that damn dawn like the break of day. And right now, it's time to get with Vitamin D Live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are tuned in to the Vitamin D with Dawn Dai podcast, and I am your host, Dawn Dai, here to get you excited about your life so that you can live life on purpose and for a purpose. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. Vitamin D, it's a pun of my name. My name is Dawn, and you get vitamin D from the sun, so I'm here to shed light into your life. And I do this with inspirational insights and conversations with celebrities and everyday people like you and me. Because if you want to be better and you want to do better, then you're going to have to be able to see better. So join me on this journey of living our best lives and understanding and realizing how you are your greatest asset.
Get your vitamin D right here with me and get excited about your life.
It's a good day to be alive. Happy Thursday. Oh man, another day to do it again. They say gratitude is everything. The more grateful you are, the more things you have to be grateful for. You know, I had to start out the vitamin D with wake up everybody. Ain't no more sleeping in bed. You know, I always talk about dreams and making dreams come true. But I got to challenge you to dream while you're still awake because we know faith without works is dead. hmm And that goes for anything. And another thing, don't count yourself out of the power of your mind. You ever realize you can visualize things and manifest them in the real life? You are a spiritual being having a human experience. That's what I got to say. Listen, I got some news and information. You know, I'm going to give you some resources, and I got a vitamin D advice letter. I'm talking about a young lady that lives at home with her mom, or doesn't live at home with her mom, but debating as to should she move back home with mom. Plus, you heard the news about Ananda Lewis, right? Did you hear that there's a new Jim Crow caste system? And would you believe how it's affecting us today? Stores are closing. It is a lot going on. On this show today, I'm going to definitely give out some resources, some information, some news, but also I want to encourage if you are watching, whether it be on Facebook, whether you on LinkedIn, whether you on YouTube, to call me up here in the studio because I would love to hear from you because I want to make sure that this is an ongoing conversation. Okay? The number to call me in the studio is 818 461 5432. It's 818 461 5432. I want to give a special shout out to Miss Mayan. How you doing? Yes, Miss Mayan is a faithful. Okay, from the FM dial to Vitamin D Live, shows up each time, and I want to let you know I appreciate you and I see you. And thank you for seeing me. Now, since we're talking about seeing and observing things, I gotta ask you a question. When it comes down to our homeless population, do you think that change is being made? All of the money that's invested, what we got going on in our community, I want to know because I just saw a story on KTLA talking about how much we spend on those who are unhoused in our community. Now, believe it or not, California has invested $24 billion dollars over the past 5 fiscal years to address homelessness. It underscores the state's urgent effort to curb the intractable crises, as people are saying. Now, there's an estimated of 181,000 people experience homelessness in California, and that was in 2023, an increase of 63,000 individuals in the past 10 years. I mean, if you look at the fiscal year of 2021 to 22 alone, when the homeless population was estimated to be 172,000, California spent 7.2 billion dollars, which equated to nearly $42,000 per homeless individual. Now, these spending efforts, they include housing and rental assistance, physical and mental health outreach, case management, and funds to purchase motels and other types of temporary housing. The question is this money well spent? Now, my brother Proverb over there down in the LBC was like, hit me up when I was on the FM down, was like, Dawn, there's rumored that these motels and hotels that were getting funding to house those who are unhoused, that the funds weren't used correctly. Now, at the time, I was waiting on to hear from the mayor, from community officials to say, well, what is going on? What is there to be talking about? Now, this comes on the heels of after 2022 when Governor Gavin Newsom threatened to withhold $1 billion in funds from cities and counties, criticizing their homelessness plans as inadequate. This summer, in fact, he directed local governments to clear encampments or risk losing out on state funding next year. And I quote, he stated, I want to see results. I don't want to read about them. I don't want to see the data. I want to see it because we know seeing is believing, right? Now, this scathing report was released in April, and the California auditor determined that the state has done a poor job accounting for homelessness spending and tracking adults. In fact, it was stated, and I quote, we believe that the state's policymakers and the public need up to date information to evaluate the efficacy and effectiveness of billions of dollars in state spending. Now, our own Mayor Karen Bass declared homelessness as a state of emergency and launched her $250 million Inside Safe program on her first day in office. And this is back in December 2022. The initiative directs tens of millions of dollars annually towards programs that transitions homeless individuals into temporary and eventually permanent housing. Now, according to a city website that tracks results, says that more than 21,000 people have been moved indoors since 2022, and more than 5,000 have found permanent housing. As with the statewide homelessness programs and grants, however, critics question if the money is producing results and is being properly tracked. So I guess I want to hear from you. Pull up on me right now. I would love for you to call me and let me know. Are you staying in an area that is fluent with those who are unhoused? Do you feel that the city of LA has done a job when it comes to housing individuals who are unhoused? And furthermore, how can you stop individuals who actually choose to live on the streets because they don't want to be controlled? They don't want to be told what time they have to come in, when they're supposed to eat, and how they're supposed to live their life. And furthermore, quite frankly, people find it a less stress to perhaps live out on the street rather than to be housed. Now, we know that we are on the cusp of what, the 2026 Olympics. So the city has been doing a major job as far as clearing people out. But the question is, what happens the next day when they come back? Or when you hear stories about individuals that own houses and you got squatters in your house? I mean, you think about it. This is where we are putting our own self at risk. If you think about it, when we talk about cleaning up our streets, if people aren't housed, who's cleaning up the streets that is being left behind? I'm just saying, these are the questions to be asked. And, we can't do anything about it unless we start to have the dialogue. So, my thing is this, don't sit there and talk about you got an issue. Oh, 2028 Olympics. Don't sit there talking about we got an issue about what's happening if you aren't speaking up, if you aren't trying to talk about it and find out a resolution. I'm just saying, let's just be quite honest. Was that a who just somebody just called it a pump fake? Look, I must have turned on. Well, Miss Jackie, if you got questions, call, call. Uh-oh. Hello. Talk to me. Oh, Miss Felicia.
Hello.
Oh, it's so loud. What you doing?
Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. How you
Are
doing? Are
you on
you
the air?
you live on the air right now?
Ah,
She up
isn't that
in
something?
DC. Oh, I just got done talking about the story about our homelessness population. And
I
can you hear me okay? Because it sounds like your
yeah.
background is loud. Okay. I just got done talking about the story of the unhoused population and how much money we're being spent. Did you want to comment on that or what you got going on?
No, I was calling in because I knew it was 8 o'clock, and I'm on the bus headed back to my Airbnb. And I just wanted to let you know. And I just saw the picture that I just sent you. I said, "Wait a minute, I think she's on the
Uh-huh. I showed off
air."
your pictures last week.
You did.
I sure did. Not last week, on Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday.
They
Yeah,
saw
yeah,
you
yeah,
out at Howard. They saw you by the monument. They saw you with Miss Howard University. Yes, we
yeah,
bragged on you. I was hoping you could call in, but I know that because of the time difference.
yeah. I couldn't because I was in that gym, and the it was loud. And then when I got out, I said it's probably too late, and I didn't even bother to try. But I thought about you just now. Did you see the homecoming pictures that I just sent a little while ago?
No, because I've been prepping to be on air. So we gotta talk like we
Oh,
talking to everybody because everybody's hearing you. So you want us to give us some updates on what's going on?
yes,
What's
indeed.
been
I'm having
happening?
so much fun.
Oh yeah.
I'm having so much fun. Well, yesterday and the day before, I spent 2 days in the Afro American Museum. And oh, that is just an awesome museum. I'm going to go back on Monday before I leave to come back to LA just to kind of take it in again because it is fabulous. It's one of the best museums besides Detroit. Detroit is one of my favorite museums,
But of
believe it or
course.
not. Dawn.
I mean, it wouldn't be because I'm from Detroit, now would it be?
No, heck no. That was before I met you. I enjoyed that museum that was across the street from where Rosa Parks lived at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then my next favorite museum is the museum down in Alabama, and no, the Memphis Museum. I had the chance to tour it before they got the new one and the old one, and
Mm.
that's a fabulous museum as well. But the one in DC, the new African American Museum, which is 3 levels, is the first 2 levels will make you cry.
Oh, really? Just how far
Yes,
we co you
yes,
know
yes.
what? Yeah, I'm glad that you're talking about this because it's emotional because of where we came from as people, right? And that's why we got
Yes.
to encourage people to get out and vote. In fact, Mr. Levon is tuning in from Facebook right now. Says, Miss Day,
Uh-huh.
please explain to the brothers why they need to get out and vote for VP Harris
Uh,
for president. I mean, we got Miss Jackie, above and beyond mobile signing service down in Texas says voting matters. Can you talk to us real quick? Why you want to encourage the young people? You want to encourage our black brothers why they need to vote?
boy, I tell you, if our young black brothers would go to one of these museums and see the things that we have gone through since when was it? 14, I think it started at 1470 something. Wait a minute, I'm about to get off the bus. Here, let me get off and get into my place and I'll call you right back. I'm
Okay,
like
we're not on
two.
another call. Okay, okay,
Okay, all right,
all right.
bye bye.
Bye bye. Well, the phone line is back open for individuals to call in, but that was Miss Felicia. Miss Felicia Richard calling in. She's in DC right now. She was just saying how she went to the museum out there and she said it brought her out to tears. You know, what is it, the African American Museum out in DC? But it just came to go on the heels of we're talking about the importance of voting. In fact, y'all just made me think of a new story that I pulled up. Can I tell y'all something? Now, I'm also going to be playing a video clip. No, we haven't done that. I told you I'm coming back in full effect. Now, to give you a little idea why we need to talk about why voting is so important, because there are changes, or I shouldn't say changes, things happening in our world, in our community that are affecting people that look like you and me. Now, I'm not trying to get serious. Listen, I'm just keeping it real so you know the deal about how we make change. Because if we don't, the change is going to be made for us. And I came across this one story, Black Information Network, and it dealt with an author and a scholar, Michelle Alexander. She's here to explain how the new Jim Crow legal caste system operates in much of the same way as slavery did. More than a century ago, utilizing the criminal legal system in other social, political, and economic systems in American society to discriminate against and mass incarcerate people of color. Y'all want to take a listen? All right, check this out.
Mass incarceration of poor people of color now operates as a fully comprehensive and well-disguised system of racial control analogous to Jim Crow. I state my basic thesis in the introduction where I write, "What has changed since the collapse of Jim Crow has less to do with the basic structure of our society than the language we use to justify it. In the era of colorblindness, it's no longer socially permissible to use race explicitly as a justification for discrimination, exclusion, and social contempt. So we don't. Rather than rely on race, we use our criminal justice system to label people of color criminals and then engage in all the practices we supposedly left behind. Today, it is perfectly legal to discriminate against criminals in nearly all the ways it was once legal to discriminate against African Americans. Once you're labeled a felon, the old forms of discrimination, employment discrimination, housing discrimination, denial of the right to vote, exclusion from jury service, are suddenly legal. As a criminal, you have scarcely more rights and arguably less respect than a black man living in Alabama at the height of Jim Crow. We have not ended racial caste in America, we have merely redesigned it. More African American adults are under correctional control today, in prison or jail, on probation or parole, than were enslaved in 1850, a decade before the Civil War began."
How do you feel about that? Since we were talking about the importance of voting, why people need to get out, we see the advancement of how the new racial justice system is that of reflected of the Jim Crow caste system. Yet, when it comes back to pushing people of color, a lot of people of color are incarcerated. Felons, you don't have any right, except for, I guess, if you're Donald Trump and you're running for president. Yet, there are so many people who don't understand the importance of getting registered to vote, why it's so important to get out there and vote. And when you have systems like this in place, where at one time when you're talking about marijuana, people were being locked up. You're getting locked up or even killed if you're whistling for somebody. Your life is being taken if you're jogging. Your life is being taken if you're just sitting there watching TV in your own dang on house. And yet people don't understand why it's important to vote, why you have to make your voice get heard, be heard. Change has to start with us. And when you talk about the rights of the community, when you talk about your family, when you talk about your livelihood, what are you doing to step up? I'm opening up the conversation because I would love to hear from you and your thoughts about that. Does it scare you? Does it make you nervous? Or perhaps you sitting on the other end and you might just say, right, in fact, I'm still going for Trump. Now we got Miss Jackie in from Texas. Says registration for voting in Texas closed last week on October 6th. Now, there are some places, I believe in the state of California, you can register and vote up until the day of election. Now, the question is, are you taking advantage of it? Do you have any comments about the video that I just played? More importantly, what does it mean to you as a people? Now, there are so many people that stand on one end, they got so much to say, but when it's time to pull up to show up or call me up, it's crickets. Well, this is your opportunity right now. You can call me in the studio so we can talk about it. 818-461-5432. That's 818-461-5432. We are talking about a vast array of topics that are affecting our community, things that we know that we need to take a part of, and things we know that we want to influx change. I mean, we are fighting for the change for our lives. And if we don't step up as people to seek out that change, to be that change, to vote for that change, well, heck, we going to be doing the same doggone thing. And it's going to require people just like you who are watching, people that are listening, to show up and let their voice be heard. Even Mr. Levant, I want to challenge you. Call me and you tell me why, as a black man, if you are still tuned in, why it's important to get out and vote. Because I can only state my piece. But what does it mean for a black man? If we're coming down to the point, they're talking about we are actually reflective of the Jim Crow caste system, how it's now used as our justice system because so many people are incarcerated based on the color of their skin. What needs to happen within? What kind of change does that look like? Call me in the studio and let me know. Otherwise, let me tell you about a couple changes that's happening in our nation. Stores are continuing to close. I was just on KTLA and I saw that Walgreens is to close 1,200 stores across America. Are you concerned? When we talk about taxation, we talk about inflation. These are the things that matter. Now, you may say, well, Dawn, I don't work at Walgreens. But what if you work at FedEx that ships to Walgreens? What if you are the pharmacist at Walgreens? What if you are a patient that receives their medication from Walgreens? What does that look like? Hey, Joe, call me in the studio. I don't know if we've ever talked, but let me tell you what's going on. So, Walgreens plans to close about 1,200 locations over the next 3 years as the drugstore chain seeks to turn around its struggling U.S. business. The company said Tuesday that about 500 store closures will come in the current fiscal year and should immediately support adjusted earnings and free cash flow. Walgreens didn't say whether the store closings would take place. Didn't say where the closings would take place. Walgreens operates about 8,500 stores in the United States and a few thousand overseas. All of the stores that will be closed will be in the United States. Now, Walgreens Boots Alliance, Inc., which are the leaders, said in late June that they were finalizing a turnaround plan for its U.S. business and that push could result in the closing of hundreds of underperforming stores. Now, also, let's take in consideration, I don't know about you. I shop in a lot of CVS's. Have you noticed that there are items such as deodorant, laundry detergent, that it's locked? Because people are looting the stores, and you talk to the employees there or the securities there, and they say, I'm not about to risk my life for this. I don't get paid enough for this. Well, what's happening is that individuals are not being able to find jobs to support their livelihood. So they said they got to grab it. But again, it's a ripple effect that affects each and every one of us. And if you thought Walgreens was the only one closing, I'm just right here reading that 7-Eleven is to close over 400 locations in the US. Hundreds of underperforming 7-Eleven stores across North America are closing. The convenience store announced on Thursday, today. Seven and I Holdings, 7-Eleven's Japan-based parent company, revealed in its earnings report that 444 7-Eleven locations are closing, slowing sales, declining traffic, inflationary pressures, and a decrease in cigarette purchasing are among the reasons why the stores are closing. In fact, the chain pointed out that cigarettes, once the largest sales category for convenience stores, have fallen 26% since 2019. A shift in sales to other nicotine products hasn't been made such a difference. In fact, a specific list of stores slated for closure wasn't released. 7-Eleven has 13,000 locations across the U.S. and Canada. So that meaning the closures would only impact 3% of the company's portfolio. Does that concern you? Are we here to talk about it? Now, Miss Jackie, you up here writing books in the comments. Why don't you just call me up and say it live on air? Miss Jackie says, per voting, some men are saying they will follow the money. Following following the money, you need to follow the right and the wrong and how it's going to affect you and your children, your offspring, your mama, your daddy's education and employment. All right, we got a caller coming in. Miss Felicia, is this you?
Yes, it's me.
Okay, really quickly, I just want to make sure we're staying on topic because I'm not sure if you were able to catch up with us what we're broadcasting right now. We just got off the
Okay.
heels of talking about voting. Then I shared with the listeners and viewers that we have stores closing. 7-Eleven is closing over 500 stores. We got over 1,300 stores of Walgreens. They're closing.
Yes, I heard that yesterday.
What you got to say about this?
Oh, ah. First thing that comes to mind is jobs, people not having jobs. And if things go automated in other areas, that's more jobs lost. And it's not good. It's not good for the economy. It's not good for those that don't go on to school and get a higher degree of education, knowledge, and understanding to be prepared to work in the work field that is available for folks.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good. And one thing that we're going to have to do for ourselves is do for ourselves and open up our own stores in our own communities in order to service one another. And so, though, then you'll still need some training even to do that, because you might have some ideas of open up a store, but you need some understanding and knowledge of how to run a business, how to keep your books, how to keep records, and how to do those taxes. So for the most part, you know, we're going to have to do what we need to do in order to survive while these stores are closing in our communities, and open up stores as a group, as a collective. Just join in together, come together and say, hey, look, we're going to open up a store like Walgreens in our community. It'll be a mom and pop or a community consolidation kind of thing. But those are my thoughts.
I'm glad you said that
Because
because
we
I think
can't
at
sit
some
around and wait
point,
on somebody else to do it for us.
exactly, and it was a point before we had desegregation where we had to rely on one another.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how when we look at the economy, how people of color, specifically African Americans, are the leading force and impact of what's driving this economy, because we're so many consumers that we are the poorest and we do not pour the money back in ourselves. And it's not that we aren't equipped. It doesn't mean that we don't have the numbers. Why is it that we simply aren't doing it? Do you think we don't trust each other? Why do we always feel like the grass is greener on the other side? Have we forgotten to talk with each other? What's going on?
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot to digest. It's a lot. And it's been digested over the and swallowed and brought back up again in many different ways. But we just got to change our mindset. We got to get it together.
Wake up,
you know.
everybody, no more sleeping in bed. It's time to wake up.
We got to, and we can't find it in a cigarette and in a brown bottle.
Oh, snaps. Oh, you trying to go there, huh? I think sometimes we trying to use it as escaping or numbing. But I mean, if you think about it, we've been through so much. It's like we're just looking for a moment to exhale, to breathe a little bit.
I'm telling you that once that elevator in the African American Museum drops to the first floor, the beginning of time, when we were picked up from the west coast of Africa and brought to the many different countries of North America, South America, the Caribbean, and made to do what we were made to do here in America. It's tearful, it's hurtful, it's gut-wrenching. And the one thing that just hurt me so was to see the number of children that were here, that came here on buses to tour that museum, how they just walked through and didn't look like they were digesting anything except for the music part of our culture. That hurt me. to see them not digest the information from a great people like African Americans of this country and what all we have done in the many ways. It's all in that one museum. How great we are,
Mm.
how we've been able to take something and nothing and make something out of it from the time we arrived, and look at what we have done in the field of creating better ways to do things, to entertainment, to sports, to engineering, to agriculture, science, mathematics, building. It's so much to digest. It's just overwhelming. And I don't know and understand. There is no other museum that tells that kind of story about a people. But yet, we don't have nothing that celebrates us. There's no chocolate city anywhere in America
Oh, you don't.
that
DC is
celebrates
known as
us.
the chocolate city. You taking that away?
Well, I know, but it's they don't really. Some people still call folks still call it Chocolate City, but I don't hear these young folks calling it Chocolate City. But there's no Africa town. There's a Vietnamese town, a Bangladesh town. There's no Africa town. But we're trying to make Leimert Park an African town, but there's no sign that says you are in Africa town.
That's true, because we got little Ethiopia here in LA.
Mm-hmm.
You got Koreatown where people live at. But what about us? And you're right. For you to talk about how magnificent the things that we've done, especially when we came here for nothing, it's amazing how if we could only just tap into this power that we got.
And
Because we
everybody
get
rides our back.
confused. It's like, do you know that we are the toughest of the toughest?
Yes, we are.
We broke it's
we
in your
did.
lineage. So how could you not even believe in yourself and feel like you can't do nothing? Because there is a high probability that your ancestors survived thousands, maybe even millions of miles to make it here in the US with no food, with no water, and still came out to make sure that you was produced.
And we arise. We will rise. We have risen in many fields, but they will not acknowledge us. They will not give us our due.
Now, Miss Jackie just made a point. You said, well, how come we don't have our own Africa town or Africa city? Miss Jackie, right here on Facebook, says, maybe that's something to be brought up with the city council and with the city mayor. Is that something worth fighting for? I mean, why not? I mean, we do have to choose to be the change that we wish to seek, right?
Yes.
And I think it also starts with conversations like you and I are having. Shoot, I was just thinking about it right now. I'm like, well, I be dog. I mean, we are at our humble beginnings, but I'm like, well, maybe vitamin D, we need to orchestrate a trip to go over to DC and to see this museum to remind, because, you're talking about these young people, you don't feel like they digested it. Is it fair to say that the disconnect is there? This form of racism that we are experiencing right now is completely different than that of our ancestors or perhaps your grandparents. It was probably their great, 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 great grandparents. But the thing is that it's almost like they say a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's presented in a different way. It comes in a different form where I feel like our children and our young people aren't able to really digest. Hello? Oh, okay.
I'm listening to you, and I'm also searching through some of the pictures as a reminder of some of the things that I saw yesterday. We can't depend on our schools to teach our young people our history, of course.
Well, you better not be, especially you in Florida, because they taking it all out the books. Again, why we need to get up and vote.
Exactly.
Hello? I think we just lost Miss Felicia. Now, Miss Jackie, don't play with me. Miss Jackie out here writing books and stuff. Yes, I'm calling you out, Miss Jackie. She's writing books and stuff. I'm calling her because don't be writing no books on the social medias and not just call in. This we call her Miss Jackie. She don't even know. Don't play with me. Play with yourself. I mean, so what's up? What's up, Miss
Hey,
Jackie?
honey. Hi, hon. How are you? Good evening. Happy Thursday, everyone.
So go ahead with all this you typing. Go ahead and tell us what you talking about, ma'am.
Well, I'm glad you called. I was gonna call you. I'm driving home. What I was saying is, I don't live there. I am from California, originally born and raised. Went to the school in the Valley. I was one of them children that they rode the big yellow. This, that, and the other. And what people are not paying attention to is that, we want to make a lot of different changes. There's reparation. There's all kind of different opportunities out there, but it's going to have to take a collective effort for everybody to get involved because one person is not going to make no change. And Rome, damn for sure, was not built in a day.
Huh. But what that change gonna look like and what is it going to require?
It is going to require sleeves being pulled up, hard work, research, because when you go for people, go before people, you got.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. You said when you go for people, what now?
When you go before individuals, city council, this and that, you have to know what you're talking about. Because first of all, you got to make sure they listen to you. Go to some of them meetings, and those meetings allow you 2 to 4 minutes to speak. And if you get a collective amount of people, they'll bring things before the city again that following week, and it can be an ongoing thing. It may take time, but Lamert Park can be changed into a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take time. It's going to take money. And of course, they're going to say they don't have it, but then they got these things called grants, and people invest in these businesses. Silent partners, this, that, and the other, to improve what's going on, to decrease the bad that's going on.
So it's going to take us starting with ourselves and have this conversation. And to be honest, and like you said, it's not going to stop. It doesn't stop overnight. The change is not going to happen overnight, but that's just like any seed that you plant.
Right. You got to plant it. Make sure you nurture it.
Also, I had
stuff with it.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Mr. Levon, he was on and he was like, well, Dawn, can you go ahead and spread a word as to why Black men need to get out and vote for VP Kamala Harris? Could you piggyback on that on why it's so important to vote?
It's important to vote because this is going to affect everybody. I don't care if you don't vote. It's going to affect you, your mama, your daddy, your sister, your brother, your pet in the backyard, that bird that's flying over in your house, and the insects and pests that are running around in your home that are unwanted. It's going to expect your dollar bill. It's going to affect how you live, eat, and breathe.
Mm. And what would you say to somebody that says, well, my one vote ain't going to change. Why are you trying to pressure me to vote?
Well, your vote, one vote you may feel as though it won't change anything, but all of them are affected collectively. That's why they have to tabulate the votes. That's why we have the early voting. That's why the opportunity is given as a woman, speaking woman to woman. Without a woman, there would be nothing. Period. We say Christ was here and his mama didn't give birth, that. Okay. Science alone says a woman go bear a child. Man ain't bearing nothing. Without us, nothing exists. Start from the beginning.
Well, thank you for sharing. And then I saw you put another comment. You made mention, you said, why these young kids aren't paying attention at the museum. And you said a lot of things that are going on in the home, a lot of our children are not being taught because the parents are not taking the time out. More of their time is being spent in front of the PC, a laptop, a tablet, a cell phone, or a gaming system, etc., but not the textbooks. Well, look at our economy and what's going on right now. I can't afford to be in the house because how are we going to pay these bills?
Right, right. Got to be working. Got to
So
be working.
what are we supposed to do?
Well, I believe that, with skill training, there's a lot of free training out here that the state is giving out. The state, your city, your county, you may qualify for whatever reason if you a blue collar worker or you low income. Get some of the skilling together. You get skills. People gonna teach you what they want you to learn anyway. But get skilled so you can revamp and learn something else, so you can learn how to do something else. Become your own sole provider of how you make a living, how you feed yourself. Learn a new skill. Be open-minded. For those that are disabled, there's things for them as well. Get a support advocate. There's a resource out there, but they don't tell you how to obtain it. Some people don't have common sense. Common sense is a lot of people are missing that.
Then a skilled sense. You doggone right, because you just got to know how to think and how to move.
You got to think. You got to think for tomorrow. You can't think for the minute because the minute already passed. I just talked about it. 5 didn't pass. Hello.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate your comments.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, don't be afraid. Save this number and call me at this number when we live, okay?
All righty, I will, darling.
All right, thank you, Ms.
Everybody in LA and everybody that's online, I want you all to share this link. Share the link. This woman has got information out here that we all need. It takes more than us. It takes more than her and I and 5 others on the line to get the message across to any and everybody that wants to know. If you want to change, make some change, you got to be about the change. You got to partake in the change. Don't be silent. If you see something, say something. Hello. And at the end of the day, everybody get your ass out there and damn vote. Shit, vote for something, but you need to vote for the right thing.
Okay.
Your child is affected. Your dog is affected. Your mama, your daddy, your sister, your brother, your Social Security, your check, your car you driving, that car note. Oh, wait, don't get me started. Anyway, y'all have a good day. Love you. Peace out.
That was Miss Jacqueline. There were no lies being told here. Listen. Walk up, roll up, pull up, get up. Speak up for yourself. Because if you don't stand for nothing, you're going to fall for anything. Right? It's so interesting. We talk about we want this change. People say, Dawn, we need some vitamin D. But when it's time to pull up for the change, to show up for the change, sometimes it's nothing but crickets. Then you look left or right and you're wondering, well, who's to blame? Well, sometimes you got to look in the mirror. Because you got to be the change that you wish to seek. And if we don't come together as a community to share our resources, to provide the information, well, heck, we can go fast alone, but we know that we can go further together. And as I reported, there's so many stores and businesses that are closing down. What does that mean for us? Like Miss Felicia said, why are we relying on other communities to support us? When we've been at the situation, we've been put at the bottom of this whole social economic society. I don't even know if I said that right, but pushed us down so low. Well, we've only had to push up to even get to where we are right now. And when you think about it, we are truly magical beings. Because who else could withstand all of this and still be upline at the forefront? It's going to take some change. It's going to take for people to speak up. So I just want to remind y'all, call me in the studio, 818-461-5432. I do have an advice letter that I want to get to. And I guess I could get to that now. And because I want to talk about breast cancer awareness. I had a guest on Thursday, but first, let me jump into this vitamin D advice letter. Subject. Should I move back in with my mom? Now, there's a preface. We've been talking about this, the stores closing. We're talking about we in a financial situation. I don't know what your deal is, but pull up. Subject: should I move back in with my mom? Dear Dawn, I'm struggling. 23 and single, and I got a good job, but the city I'm in is really expensive. After I pay off everything, I only have like $800 left for the whole month. I want to go out and do a lot of stuff and go on vacations, but I don't want to get into insane credit card debt like most of my friends have done already. My mom says that I can come back home, which isn't far from away from my job, and I can help her out too because she needs the financial help from me as well. Dawn, I'd actually be saving about $2,500 a month if I moved back to help her. And that's after me giving my mom $1,000 a month. Me and my mom have a great relationship, Dawn, and we're super close too. And I want her and I want to help her out and spend more time with her. But part of me feels like if I move back home, I'm somewhat failed in the real world and couldn't make it out there on my own. Dawn, what's wrong with me? Why am I thinking like this? Signed, Pat Kingsley in San Diego, California. Well, Pat, hold up, wait a minute. If you got $800 after you pay all your bills, I must say you probably are ahead of most. There's so many people out here living paycheck to paycheck. Inflation is real. The lack of jobs out here is real. Paying jobs where people can afford to live their life. Now, we are in one of the most expensive states in the US, California. Now, here's what I want to say. Pat, if you are debating whether or not you should go home, I want to say that you are very fortunate that you have a loving and supporting family member that you can go to when you need help and love. There's a lot of people who don't even have that. Like, I just think about myself. And, this is really personal for me. I went ahead and I left home after college, or even after high school, to go to college in Washington, D.C. And from there, I went straight up to New York. And at that point, that's when my mom transitioned. So that wasn't a moment where I felt like I had a home to go back to. Yes, the rest of my family there, but if you are someone who has lost a parent or parent figure, that's a different kind of home sense. So the whole idea of going back and having that reliance or that reassurance, that's not a choice for me. And I feel as though it probably worked in my favor because that's why I have been so gun ho to go about my dreams and to live my dreams wide awake. But you, Pat, you have an opportunity to uplevel the quality of your life. Sometimes we can let our ego get in the way of being in a situation, but it's not that you're not capable. It's saying, hey, let's be honest. I don't know how old your mother is, but time isn't stopping. And if you know that you have the ability to go home right now and still live your life, perhaps it's something to consider. We know that stress is the number one killer. There's so many people stressed out right now trying to figure out how to pay their bills, trying to figure out how they're going to do the next thing because they simply don't have the money. And guess what? Then they get sick. Then it's like, well, what do you do? So, Pat, my choice on this is to say, go ahead and move in with your mom. But don't get out there and get too buck wild and going on all these trips and drinking. Because let's face it, 23 is a partying age. And not realizing the responsibilities that you have at home and the things that you need to do. Okay? But remember, we're here for a good time, not a long time. So make it count. Go ahead. I say go ahead and move back in your mom. It's not like you don't have a job. Shoot. If you were able to afford $2,500 a month on your rent and you still got over excess in amount waiting for you after you pay your mom $1,000, go ahead and take advantage of that. I think you would be a fool if you didn't. Now, if you said you ain't had no job and you at home sitting on the couch, then I'm like, wait a minute, baby girl, but you do. So use your olive branch wisely. In some communities, the child is unable to move out the home or not allowed, or it's not condoned, rather, until they are married with children, until they have a good supportive. But I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's our community. And check me if I'm wrong. But oftentimes it's like, well, you 18 and grown. It's time for you to get out the house. Sometimes I feel like maybe perhaps in the African American community, we can do more with our foundation about supporting, making sure we have things in place, having these conversations on how to invest your money, why life insurance is important. Heck, we know last month, September, was Life Insurance Awareness Month. We have several viewers, subscribers, followers of vitamin D who work in the tax or life insurance industry that can show us how to appropriately use our funds. So why are we gonna stop here? For what? For why? And since we talked about how last month was Life Insurance Awareness Month, well, we know that this month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Now, I don't know if you had a chance to tune into the last episode, and if not, you can listen to it on all platforms where you listen to your favorite podcast. But it was all about breast cancer awareness. I had Jan Austin as well as Chandra Fitzpatrick on to talk about Miss Chandra being a three-time cancer survivor, and Miss Jan, she works over at UCLA. She works over at UCLA and she talks about how she is a valuable resource for information and all the things that we can see that's going on in our lives. These are the people you need to reach out with. Well, here's the thing that I thought was interesting. They called me after the conversation. They were like, Dawn, you did not mention the whole idea of what happened with Ananda Lewis. Now, you remember former MTV VJ Ananda Lewis, right? Well, she came about just a couple days ago and revealed that her breast cancer has metastasized after she decided to keep her tumor. Ananda, she's 51. She announced back in 2020 that she was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer, noting that she had declined to get mammograms for years due to the fear of radiation and exposure. Now, do a recent roundtable discussion on cancer with CNN. Ananda revealed that she went against her doctor's recommendation to have a double mastectomy following her diagnosis. She says, and I quote, my plan at first was to get out excessive toxins in my body. I felt like my body is intelligent. I know that to be true. Our bodies are brilliantly made. She continues on. I decided to keep my tumor and try to work it out of my body in a different way. Looking back on that, I go, you know what? Maybe I should have. What do you think about that? You know, there are some people who don't like going to the doctor. Feeling as though if I disclose some information, you're going to find something that's wrong with me. There are some people who figure if I don't know, it won't hurt me. And then you have others, which I probably go into this bucket, who are here for herbs, vitamins, for healing. But at what point do you trust your doctor's orders? Now, believe it or not, I actually had Ananda on vitamin D. Y- This is vitamin D a few stages ago. How about that? A few seasons ago where we were not in the studio and she talked about the importance of getting mammograms. Take a listen.
We need to do mammograms, even though there is this small amount of exposure to radiation, because the risk out or the reward outweighs the risk, right? The risk of that little bit of radiation is nothing compared to the reward of finding out what's going on in your body so that you can be proactive, maintain more control, and not find out about something when it's further down the line. Now, I'm lucky in the sense that I didn't wait until it was a stage 4, right? Because that's a harder process to deal with in the body. A stage 3 isn't great. So it's in my lymph, and that does make it more difficult. There are more things you have to do. There's a deeper dig. And I wish I had found it earlier. I would have if I'd been doing mammograms. And that's the part I needed women to understand. Yeah, there's a risk, but there's a way bigger reward.
The greater the risk, the greater the reward. You've heard me say this quote countless of times. You know that I personally have been affected by breast cancer. My mother transitioned from stage 4 breast cancer. So I myself had started my mammograms when I was still in my 20s, just because of how rampant it goes in my family. The question is, are you looking after your health? Have you decided to show up for yourself? I think sometimes we believe that if we don't know, it won't hurt us. But just like Ananda stated, sometimes this whole thing that we operate in fear of not wanting to do something or because we don't know how to do something, well, we stay stagnant. And in this situation, she says, well, there was a fear about being exposed to the radiation that it would cause cancer. And she said, perhaps I would have caught it. Now, that was Ananda back in 2021 talking about her stage 3 diagnosis. Here we are, fast forward 3 years later, and now she's at stage 4. I don't know if you or somebody you love has been affected by breast cancer. But if we don't know about our health and taking better care of ourselves, we won't be here to enjoy our families, to enjoy our loved ones, to really live our life in abundance, exceedingly and beyond. Because if you don't check yourself, you may end up wrecking yourself. And I guess it was just kind of hard for me to even pull up that clip and to listen to it because at that time she was stage 3. And I didn't see her current clip of her discussing her stage 4 breast cancer, but I do remember how optimistic she was about how it could dissolve or to go away. And don't get it twisted. Prayer changes things. Prayer changes things indeed, but guess what? Faith without works is dead. Perhaps there is a way, or how about the consideration that God places doctors and medical professions here for us to take advantage of those services, of these people, these skilled professionals to support us in healing. I feel as though sometimes as people, we get so caught up on the left and right, the white and the black, the yin and the yang, and not realizing how they're one and the same. What if these things work together so that we can be a better people? A better society, a better community. Miss Jackie just commented. She put colon cancer. I presume that somebody in her family or she has been affected by somebody close with colon cancer. I don't know what your thing is, but you got to check up on yourself. Which reminds me, I've told you guys, and I made mention of this before, but Black Men's Wellness Day, right? You heard me talk about this over and over again. Because we are on this topic, I just want to remind you that on November 2nd, mhm, Black Men's Wellness Day will be taking place in Los Angeles, California. And it's a walk to save Black men's lives. They will have free health screenings with professionals with your interest at heart. I'm talking about people of color. I'm telling you, the information you need is right at this event. We're talking about STD, we're talking about blood pressure, we're talking about cholesterol. We're talking about simply knowing your numbers because when you know better, you can do better. So, therefore, you can be better. And since we're talking about the African American Male Wellness Agency, I'd let you know right now it's happening at Crenshaw Mall. If you know somebody that's over here in the area, that's a Black man that needs to talk, well, Real Man, Real Talk is taking place right now at the Museum of African American Art. It's located in Suite 283. That's the second floor. Go see Jade and tell them that Dawn, like the break of day, told you about the organization and told you about the event. It doesn't end to 8 o'clock, so you still have time. I opted not to be available to take content there because I had to make sure that I was here with you. Me and you to talk about the things that we go through. So, if you know a young man, a young person that could benefit, or an older man that has been going through some things, because Black men are known to be suffering, what, 20 to 30% higher of some type of emotional distress than their counterparts simply because we aren't talking, simply because we aren't talking about the pressures that are going on in society. Well, this is a safe haven. This is a circle. I've been talking about this for a while, how we need to get together and have these conversations that are going on in our community. So, whether it's our mental health or our physical health, check up on your wellness. And as Miss Jackie said, you get your breast checked this month. Please do it. All you got to do is call and make the doctor appointment. And I understand if you are scared, you being scared is not going to change the results. Being scared is not going to make it dissolve. You being scared is going to keep you stuck in the same place. Each one reach one, each one teach one. And it starts with ourselves. So I want to open up the phone lines so we can get this conversation going. Otherwise, we might can cut it short so that we can continue to talk about the things that are the heart of the matter, things that are important to us. So if you are tuning in right now, I want to encourage you to call me. Call me in the studio 818-461-5432. 818-461-5432 because I'd love to hear from you. If there's anything that's going on in your mind, if you got a praise report about some great things that are going on in the community, pull up on me. Okay, I want to hear from you. And also, another great thing that's going on this Saturday. Is there anybody going out to Taste the Soul? Well, I will be there along with the African American Male Wellness Agency. Yes, the organization I just discussed about the Real Men, Real Talk and the Black Men's Wellness Day. Well, we're going to be out there spreading the word about what's going on in our community. So I hope to see somebody up there. And if so, pull up on me. Make sure you say hi. Make sure you say hello so that I can meet you and that we can talk. I know several individuals have came up and said, "Hey, Dawn, I want to meet with you." And I sometimes I don't have time just on location and times that are available to meet with everyone. And sometimes it's better just to be in a comfortable environment. Now, there are some listeners and viewers that I have met up with. In fact, I was just talking about last Tuesday, Miss Jackie was in town. So we had grabbed coffee earlier in the day. But this is a great space, a great place for us to pull up and meet. So that's where I'm gonna be on Saturday. Okay. And also, I would love if you can get the opportunity to make sure that you share this podcast with somebody. I am working on diligently coming in every Tuesdays and Thursdays to give you some resources, some information to keep you excited about your life. But we got to spread the word so we can keep this good thing going. Because when I'm here, I'm not necessarily making the money that's going to put the dollar bills y'all in my pocket. But I'm hoping I'm sowing seeds right now. Because the vision is to keep building with this and make this of a network of my own. But I need to hear from you. I need to hear from you. It's not going to just be enough to say, "Oh, Dawn, I was there. I'll listen to the playback." I need to hear you live in full effect to know that my words are not falling on deaf ears. I want vitamin D to be the hub where we're shedding light on resources and information. Okay? So I want to leave this open. If nobody's calling in, well, honey, it's time to get out the door. Now, is Miss Latasha here? Is Miss Latasha in the house? Thank you, Miss Jacqueline. I really appreciate you. Thank you. Yes, as Miss Jacqueline said, we talking about sponsorship. This is what, listen, asking you shall receive, seeking you shall find. And let me just say another thing. When Miss Jacqueline, it really meant a lot that we did meet up. She reminded me because I know, like, sometimes you just feel like you don't know what's happening. You don't know which direction you're going. She was like, "Dawn, you did what you said that you were going to do." She said, "Dawn, you said that you were going to get back in the studio. You said that you were going to get up the phone calls." Yes, I did. I don't have life tatted in my mouth for nothing. As we know, life and death are in the power of the tongue. So we have to choose to speak life over ourselves, through us and for us. And more importantly, by us. Our brothers and sisters that we are sitting in left and right, we got to choose to speak life so that we can create the life that we want. And I said, "Well, let me be a shining example." By no means am I saying that I'm perfect, but I'm a firm believer of speaking and creating the life that you want. And I'm just happy to say, you know what? I need to go back in the archives and pull up the clip because that would be an awesome moment. How I say, "Okay, this is the vision to get back in the studio," and then come back present of myself in the studio, right? Yeah, that's the way I want to do it. Um, I don't know if anybody wants to call in with any stories or any information. Are there any resources that we need to go ahead and move along to share with the community? Well, now's your time to pull up on me so we can get this good word out. Call me in the studio 818-461-5432. Again, that's 818-461-5432. I'd love to hear from you right here, right now. Okay? And if not, I guess we're gonna be out of here. I want to thank each and every one of you so much for pulling up on me, showing me some love. Those who called in, and of course, those who commented. And I just want to say as a reminder to get out there and vote. Shooting about what? 16 days from today, in just a couple of weeks, we will have the verdict of who our next president is. Are you going to be about that change? Are you going to walk up, drive up, speak up for the change that you wish to see? Listen, you ain't got to tell me and you ain't got to prove it to me. Show me. Say it loud and proud. Do it with your chest. Put some chest in it. Put some funk on it. That's what we need to do. Okay? Well, all right. Well, listen, subscribe to the podcast. It's available wherever you get your favorite podcast. You know that we're all on all social media at Vitamin D Dawn Day. And oh, forgot, if you have a vitamin D advice letter, if you need advice on your relationships, on your career, on anything dealing with your life, I want to encourage you to send me an email. Vitamin D at dawndai.speaks.com. That's vitamin D at dawndai.speaks.com. Also, if you would like your own dose of vitamin D, that be me, baby. I want to encourage you to follow me on all social media at Dawn DAI Speaks. And what do I say? You know, I always say, I'm in the business of making dreams come true. And I damn sure ain't gonna forget about mine. So until next time, that'll be on Tuesday. Oh, I almost forgot. I got a special guest, a tutoring program. Duran. They passed the baton. He's coming. Okay. Until next time, family, always remember, you are your greatest asset.
Get your vitamin D right here with me and get excited about